I just want to talk about some manga I read. And I decided for my first manga review I'd stick with what's been working for me, and talk about the first Demon Slayer trade, which includes chapters 1 through 7. Now this will have spoilers for both the manga and the anime, but of course that's only chapters 1 through 7 on the manga, and the corresponding episodes of the anime. Now this is a work by Koyohara Garaugi. Let me try that again. Koyohara Gatoge. I think I'm saying that close to right. You know, I'm pretty famous for my spot-on Japanese pronunciation. But he does both the story and the art. He does draw an avatar for himself that looks like an alligator, so that makes me wonder if Gatoge is kind of like a play on words with gator there. I don't really know, but I do like the avatar. And the anime, I would say, follows the story pretty darn closely from the first 7 chapters of the manga. And of course, that's not always the case with adaptations. And I will show a whole lot of art in these videos. If you haven't seen my comic book review videos before, I tend to put myself in the background and display the art from the comic first and foremost. But I will say this is paced very, very well. It reads quickly, for me at least. You know, your mileage may vary on this. And I do know that the story picks up in later chapters, but these chapters flow smoothly for me, and they really keep me going no problem. Oftentimes, I'll have to push myself through sometimes the middle parts of a book or the middle issues in a series, but with this, I kept going at a good clip, a nice pace, and never felt bogged down. It was also easy to read in one sitting if you prefer, or to just pick up when you have a few minutes, and read it a little bit at a time. I do have to say that I think the character designs are great. And again, I think the anime followed the manga fairly closely, though there are some differences there. The faces look a little younger to me in the manga. And I kind of wonder when I read this all the way through if I'll be able to see aging in the faces of these characters in later chapters. And I think that'll be really nice if that happens, but of course I haven't read those yet and I don't know if that happens. But one thing I've always liked about comics better than animation or movies is that you can go at your own pace. And once again, this moves quickly, but I can also take time and just sort of pore over an interesting panel or an interesting page. And it also allows me to really grasp the details a lot better now. Obviously, if you saw my initial Demon Slayer movie review, you know that I missed a few of the points on what was going on. Even later when I was watching the show, I would sometimes miss some of the details. But for me, the rules of the story and the dynamic of the world are much easier to grasp when I read the manga. I feel like Gatoge does a solid job of details in the art without using any color. And I understand that that's the norm for manga in the most part, is to be in black and white. And of course that certainly keeps down the costs and it helps speed up the publication. I know with my experience writing Western comics, that it's a team of about 5 people to put that comic book story together, and 6 pages can take several months. So to see how quickly the turnaround time is on these chapters, I think it does help that the norm is to forego a color artist. I also think that considering that it's in black and white, that the art does a good job of conveying the blood and the horror in the story at times. And I'm familiar with people being good at this. The Walking Dead comics are in black and white. They manage to convey the blood and the splatter in a visceral way. And I'm just impressed that Gatoge's doing a good job with that here. And like I said earlier, I think there's some nice details in the art. And I know some folks have criticized the art in this series, but I really do like it. One example is I love the texture on Giyu Tomioka's cloak. When you look closely at it, it just has a level of texture that I didn't appreciate in the anime with the color added to it. Also with the manga, instead of Taisho era secrets, at least the version of the manga that I read had Taisho whispers and rumors as interstitial components. One rumor section gave all the titles considered for the story. A few of note include Demon Hunting God of Fire, Charred God of Fire, and Tale of the Demon Killer. Now, do you think those God of Fire titles are a clue about Tanjiro? I know I've got my own suspicions. In fact, I wonder if I should do a crackpot theory video about Tanjiro. Anybody who knows my work from my previous podcasts understand I love a good crackpot theory when I'm watching a television show or reading a comic book. and I've got one about Tanjiro, but I'll see if anybody's interested before I spill the beans on that. I do think that these early chapters gave a good, concise description and explanation of the Demon Slayer Corps and exactly what they are. I felt like I had a pretty good handle on that from the anime, but I did pick up a few more little levels of clarity from the manga. Also in the manga, I think the conceit of writing in a journal works really, really well on the page. I like it as a device better than the voiceover that we get in the anime series, but of course that's just a subjective personal preference. I'm not saying one's better than the other, sharing what I like. The manga does have a splash page that explains the basics of demons fairly well too, and I found this pretty useful to understand retroactively what I'd already seen on the screen by what I saw here on the page. And there are some clues when the ghosts show up that I didn't pick up on in the anime. In fact, they became very clear to me here when I was reading the manga, but of course I'd already seen the anime and I already knew they were ghosts, so maybe I was looking for those clues a little more closely too. The visual flourishes of the water forms are more obviously stylistic. What I mean by that is when I read the manga, I understand very well what many people told me in my video comments when I was reviewing the anime and the movie about how some of that was just a visual representation and not really what was happening. And I think that is conveyed to my simple mind a little bit better on the manga page than it was in the anime. I will say there's a whole lot of action conveyed well in a single static image, and in my opinion, Gotege excels at this. The story really tells me that the three sort of core values of Tanjiro, and by extension I think the three core values of the story that Gotege wants to tell, are family, duty, and gentle strength. Being strong when you need to, but not being cruel and never relishing in the violence. I feel like this manga should appeal to a wide array of people who like supernatural stories, fantasy stories, swordsmanship training, and most importantly, I think that this manga is quite accessible. I think it would be easy for somebody who's never read manga before to pick this up and get pulled into it, and I think it would appeal to a wide age range. Now, there's not much in the way of humor in the first 7 chapters, and I did find that a little disappointing because the use of humor in the anime was something I liked very, very much. But once again, I haven't made it past chapter 7 yet. I'm only talking about those first 7 chapters, and there weren't as many laughs there as I would have liked. But overall, this is a good, solid origin story for Tanjiro. It doesn't seem fair to me, these creators that are gifted with both storytelling and artistic talent, and both at a very high level. Some people, I guess, just have all the luck. The visual elements in the anime is such a big part of what hooked me on it, and the manga, at least these first 7 chapters, are a little more subdued, so I think you should know that before you're going into it. But really, I like this. I really like it. I really like the feel of it. If you're a fan of the anime, then you'll absolutely want to check out the manga. Perhaps it'll tide you over to season 2. The reading and watching go so well together in my experience. And of course, if you can't wait for season 2, you can go ahead and read on in the manga. By all reports I've seen, season 2 is going to be an adaptation of the Red Light District arc, so you can go ahead and check that out in the manga if you prefer not to wait to see the anime. And then you get to enjoy it all over again a second time around when season 2 gets here. Now, if you're not familiar with it at all, I still recommend it for a few simple reasons. It's a quick read, it's inexpensive, and it's a great entry point to manga, as well as to Demon Slayer. So I hope that was a little bit helpful. I hope you might be interested in more manga reviews because at my core, I'm a comic book reader more than anything else, and I would love to do more of these. But until next time, have a wonderful day.